Genie grind, I wish I'm getting rich, huh? Remember when I said I hit a lick, huh? I don't really wanna fuck the bitch, what? Willie went and made another hit, okay, like Prada on my motherfucking kid, huh? Louis on my motherfucking hip, huh? Curry how I dunk, no switch, hey, fucking gonna fuck that bitch, hey, if you ain't gon' fuck with me, you a dumb fuck, put up a hit but feel like one punch, look at my bank and I'm getting dumb rich, and I'm gonna count it up till 100,
Hello world, and welcome back to What If Naofumi was summoned by the Elves, part 13. Alright, welcome, and if you've made it this far, I applaud you. I doubt that you want to hear any more from me, so I'll start it. Naofumi is in the middle of the destined battlefield. It almost looks like a desert now. Every single place inside of his storm was destroyed and turned to ash. When he dispersed it, it seemed like everything stopped levitating and returned back to normality. He had flipped the world upside down with one single flick of his arm, and then reversed it, just as simple as that. He takes a breath, realizing how many lives he has taken. His legs almost collapse below him as he realizes what he has done. However, he reconciles, saying that he only killed the ones that have had their souls locked away and demons infested their bodies. Perhaps he had failed to tell the others that, but he felt so shrouded in the hate and the suffering that he forgot to tell them. Philo starts to fly out of the sky, a gigantic chicken bird, something that he honestly could not believe with his eyes for the life of him, until he saw the bloodied spear and recognized it was Motayasu. The spear had the bird's feathers on top of it, sort of stoically, sort of atoning it, as they adorned the sides of his armor too. Naofumi drew a conclusion that they were one of the same, that the bird was his sort of ticket to legendary status. Philo looked at him in such happiness it seemed innocent. As it landed next to him, he couldn't help but lurch out his hand to try to take some of that happiness, something for himself. He loses his hand inside of its fur, and its feathers are so soft. It giggles as he continues to pet. And then he realizes Motayasu is staring at him, sort of curiously, saying, "She's soft, isn't she?" As he's like, yes, right. I'm assuming you have done what you had sought out," as he looks up to the bloodied spear. Motayasu says, "Not yet. She is left into the castle. From what I believe, the queen is having quite a lot of trouble inside of there, fighting the two heroes." Naofumi nods, saying, "Of course." Motayasu, as he sort of looks down, Motayasu says, "Yes." "What?" He says, "If I do anything rash, promise me that you'll hold me back. I know justice and know of its pretenses, but I myself am not a purveyor. I am only an apothecary of chaos. As just, I cannot do anything but spawn chaos." He says, "Don't worry, my friend. I will try, as I am an apothecary of order." Naofumi smiles as he looks up to him, saying, "Of course. I was supposed to be one too." He climbs onto the back of Philo, saying, "Mind if I hitch a ride?" Naofumi says, Matayase says, no, of course you can. They shoot up into the sky as the wings sort of flutter around them. As they swiftly start to land onto one of the balconies, they get a major view of the whole thing, as the castle seems to have much going on inside of it. They spawned immediately on the floor that would have Lily on it. She was secluded in the most bottom of the floors. There seemed to be massive battles being held here. He walked in and he was instantly met with a nasty smell. He felt as if almost like something was diluting his eyesight, making him view nothing but false pretenses. He walks forward and the pillars start to surround him as he's immediately cloaked in darkness. Spear Hero had immediately gone up with Philo to the upper floors. But he started to see nothing but swordsmen and shields. However, then a monk comes out of nowhere, punching immediately at his face. He tanks this hit as, not as hard as I thought it would be. She punches him in the stomach and he barely reacts. However, he feels that he should almost act for this one. He acts to be winded from this, as then she's like, I got him! Now! Counter! And then, as he's like, oh, was I supposed to attack? He realizes the names above them are that of the hero's party. Certainly the bow hero's party. Then a knight immediately charges at him with a sword sheathing inside of his stomach. Nice! Now, Milo. As then a small fairy leaps up from his shoulder, leaping into the inside of Naofumi's body. As it sort of starts to wander around inside of his body, the others start to try to, distract him even more. Naofumi, however, finds all their attacks so pitiful. He knew he was powerful, but were they really this weak? They were all, trust me, powerful. Maybe about 100 each one of them. But even the arrows that were being shot at him by the bow hero were the only thing that were really damaging him. However, then he realizes that the fairy is the only thing that he has to really be troublesome about this. He then looks down to see the fairy try to yank out his heart as he feels a little slight tug. He's speared through the heart by the knight, however, he doesn't care much. He's constantly punched in the back, but then he looks down and he's like, did you really think that this was going to work? His arm carries up to his heart, as then he literally rips through his own skin and grabs onto the fairy, pulling her out of his own body, as she grabs onto the heart trying to rip it out with her, and she is successful, carrying his heart with her. As she's like, we're successful! And they're like, holy shit, did we do it? We killed the demon! As then Naofumi kind of falls down onto his knee. It's just like, no. How did you? Weaklings. All of you. But how? As the bow hero is not convinced. He takes up an arrow and shoots it straight into Naofumi's head. However, very cold-like, as the rest of the heroes are kind of concerned. However, Naofumi grabs onto the arrow before it could hit his head. As it slightly makes a divot, he says, I always was one for dramatics. As the rest of them are shocked, and the bow hero is just like, you fucking idiots, of course. And then Naofumi just punches him in the throat. As the bow hero immediately falls back, aiming up another shot. However, Naofumi is just standing there you've lost. As all of the rest of them just fall down to sleep, right? The bow hero is just shit! And Naofumi's just now with that done. Until 3 arrows are shot straight at Naofumi. These 3 arrows are much faster and, much more precise than Naofumi's. Than the bow heroes. Going straight for Naofumi's face. he is barely able to block them before they are able to hit him right in the eye. One actually marking up his left one. It immediately hits into the column behind him, which it knocks it down. Three other, of these guys just immediately show up. These archers are expert level, as they immediately cascade him with thousands of shots over the next minutes as he's dodging from barrier to barrier. It becomes such a heated battle that he starts sweating, like he's really struggling with this guy. And whenever he catches on one of them, they immediately turn into shadow and giggle as if they're demons. Clearly even more demons than he had faced on the battlefield. I don't know how much more I can consume their souls. As his face starts to malform as he says, I need a balance of the good and the bad. He gets hit in the back of the head by one of the arrows, which takes him down to the ground. He takes out the arrow and heals up his head with the healing hand, something that he had learned from the spirits. It allows him to do as much damage, heal as much damage as he can deal with his hands, which is usually a low-level thing for others, like priests who are very weak. However, for him, it is very strong, and heals him quite a lot. He gets up, just absolutely fucking pissed about this, and just jumps off of one of the columns, breaking it in half. As he picks up one of the cylinders and throws it at the archer. The archer dodges the cylinder, however, it gets headbutt by him as he guessed where his head would be. The archer falls down onto the ground, and Naofumi flips himself and then lands onto his feet, which grind against the stone below him, sort of peeling off the skin on the bottom of his feet, as he grits his teeth and grinds his nails into the chalk, and he jumps right back at this archer. The archer leans back up onto one of the pillars and looks up to Naofumi as the eyes meet Naofumi's. In the middle of his mad dash to kill the archer, he realizes those eyes. They're feminine. They carry a sweet sorrow inside of them, as a tear is shed from him. He can sense, and it reminds him of Lily. He immediately stops his charge as he falls down and flips onto the floor. As his skin grinds against the floor, he falls and then face first in front of the archer. Being knocked in the head so many times, he looks up and sees long hair streaming from the head of it. It was Lily, her eyes glistening in the sunlight that was about to set. She was held up by only her bow, and her back up against the wall. She was bleeding out from the head, as her whole garb and royal garb seemingly not shown to him. He says, Holy fuck, Lily? What? Why are you here? How? We shall go back. Only just a small bit of time. The priest finally meets up with Mine as she is held up in the castle. She says nothing as this is the demon sort of talking around. However, the demon sheds itself back to let Mine talk to the priest, as the priest is unaffected by the demons, as his deal with them has lasted that long to not be affected by the demons himself, but have to spread their influence through the empire. She says, What about Lily? Or whatever the wench's name was. As the priest says, she's currently being contained in our lowest dungeon. That's not good enough. I want her to suffer like no one else, to show that arrogant shield hero what it means. I have a plan. As the priest says, Oh, you have a plan. What plan shall that be? And she says, When the shield hero comes here, I want him to see her as someone that he would be willing to kill. Like who? I wouldn't say that he would be so cautious around me, so make it anybody. Just another soldier conquered by a demon. He'll want the extra soul either way. It shall be done, miss. However, it does require a blood sacrifice. Yes, I know. She then cuts her wrist and lets the blood flow onto the ground as he draws a sort of pentagram, writing up the spell. Naofumi now down, kneeling in front of her. She was giving off her life essence so easily. As she looked up to him, she gasped for air as she says, "It's been a fun time, Naofumi." As he says, No, listen, I have healing hands. She says, This cannot be healed. As her life is already slipping away. She's on death's row. She will be for quite a while. She's taking... Until that time, she will take a final blow, which will knock her health down to 0 and kill her. She has about 5 minutes, but she can't talk or anything during it. Naofumi says, No, this can't be possible. I have Soul Sealer. I can't. She's like, it won't work, honey. As he says, What the fuck? What is it, Lily? God! As she brings his head down next to her mouth, she says, do good and trust no one. She lets out the final breath that she can contain at that moment. It was like her life was meaningless. Why? No. How? Do good. How could I fucking do good? If all they keep on taking. They keep. He can't even bring himself to shed tears. The ash consumes him as it broils out of his mouth, fills up the contains, and taking out barrier after barrier after barrier, he says, who did this? Who the fuck did this? As then he says, find her. And then suddenly, like a red eye comes out of the left of him. His left arm now reattaching an arm made of ash. The bitch! As then an evil grumble that can be heard across the whole kingdom. Everybody is frozen in fear from this power that awakens as it crushes the tower, slicing it in half, completely destroying that blower 4. As the entire thing just falls down a single floor, and even a second one after it's exploded. These massive explosions caused by one single source. Naofumi's rage knew no bounds now, for he knew who had done it. After this massive explosions, the tower started to go lopsided, sort of tipping onto it. Naofumi's rage just exploded upwards in a colander as he said, "Take me to the bitch." As then he, it explodes some of the floors, causing like a hole about the size of a human. As he lifts himself up, shooting up to the top floor on the balcony, the mass, as the spear hero and the rest of them were taking care of the priest. The queen also taking out the priest using the royal guards. Naofumi was staring down at mine. She was on the floor, cowering. She had flopped onto her ass, and soon enough was trying to shoot fireballs at him, but they just were deflected. They were deflected in random positions, kind of even hitting the spear hero, which got his attention towards where it was happening. They all fell down to their knees under the weight and the pressure of his hate. Even the spear hero found it hard to keep himself up. The queen was immediately almost crushed, and the priest was crushed under the weight and was killed from it. He was physically unable to move, as Naofumi was now levitating in the air as the ash surrounded his face and his whole body. He now looked down at mine. She was crying, but wasn't withering away. She could withstand his power. Of course she could. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to mine, not the demon who has inhabited her body. As the demon swiftly runs away, as it detaches from mine's body, and starts to run away and fly as fast as it can. Now Fumi's rumblings actually started to shift the entire castle, starting to make it go lopsided almost. As Naofumi, in this calm moment, Naofumi didn't realize that the castle was starting to tip over and falls onto its side, until the massive, until the giant, the captain giant with the gigantic, sort of, Viking hat, comes out of nowhere saying, "Oh no, you don't." As then he holds up the side of the castle, stopping it from falling down onto its side. Allowing Naofumi time. He looks out to see the giant staring back at him. The giant did not care for what he was doing. It only cared as for her to not get away, and for the Empire to have a nice, peaceful ending. He didn't matter. Naofumi started to step forward as all these events were quite sudden. Nobody was able to do much. And as he stood forward, bringing up his hand, as he brought it up to sort of a punching position. As mine tried to make a last-ditch effort, he grabs onto her leg and starts to pull her across the floor. He pulls her so hard that her skin rips off against the floor, and then throws her back down onto it, smashing her against the floor, splatting blood into it, all around. And he repeats this over and over and over and over and over again, causing the whole room to be colored crimson. This is what you wanted, wasn't it? I'm sure you took joy in what happened to me. And then Spear Hero put his hand, brought up himself enough to say, "Naofumi, you have to stop. Get the fuck out of my way." And with just a single look, immediately the spear hero was sent away and smashed into one of the columns, as he almost falls out and is now hanging on by a thread, with his fingers barely coming onto the edge. As the queen tried to help him up, however, she was weak herself. And then Naofumi readies up his hand, ready to bash her face in, to permanently disfigure her. She barely even has any facial features left to be loved. Why would he give a fuck if she died now? As then he's almost about to throw another punch, and then... Naofumi. What? As then he hears Lily, the back of his head. You'll become like him. You'll always become like him if you do this. Soon you will get a taste for revenge, and you will try to kill them all. Naofumi, this isn't you. Lily. He whispers under his breath. Everything is caused to a halt. Lily. He closes his eyes as he wishes all the ashes away. He falls down onto his feet. Although lopsided, he was able to keep his footing by sticking his feet permanently into the stone by using sheer force. The spear hero, he helps up the spear hero. As the spear hero's like, thank God you're awake. But we gotta get the hell out of here. Capture them later. But he starts to hear a low murmuring coming from her. The hell are you laughing about, bitch? As she says, after you permanently disfigured me, and you've captured all of them, and you've killed all those hero humans, what are you gonna tell your children? He says, what? The fuck are you talking about? She says, Lily, right? We demons are able to sense human life forms to hunt them down. When the demon was inside of me, I could tell there were 2 more lives sort of progressing inside of her. Oh, have I struck a chord? As Naofumi realizes. No way. No. But in a silent rage, he has his back turned to her for a second. Motoyasu puts his hand on Naofumi's shoulder. He looks into his eyes saying, don't do it. You'll only make it worse. Fuck it! As then he just picks her up as the building starts to crumble away. Everybody else is picked up by Philo, but he grabs onto her and throws her down onto the ground, punching her in the middle of the air, cascading her onto the floor. She bounces literally off of the floor, and then she skids down to a fault. Her health points at negative by this point. She's on death. She's literally in death. And yet he keeps on punching, and then he halts. I tried. I really tried. His vocal cords are destroyed by this point from rage. Her face bloodied and destroyed and disfigured. The rest of her body didn't make much, better. I'm going to enjoy this. That's all I'm going to tell you. However, he gets stabbed from behind. A large sword sticking out from his chest before he could throw another punch. He looks behind him, seeing the sword hero now losing his sword inside of him. Naofumi. You fool. You disgusting varmints. You disgusting cockroaches shall be crushed beneath my foot. As he takes out the sword from Naofumi's chest, without Naofumi even doing much. Naofumi looks up to him. Your sword. As he grabs onto it, forcing it into his hand without much resistance from, sword hero. Ren is trying to get it out of it, however, is unable to even move his arm. As something, symbolized, can be defined as Yujiro Hanma. As he cuts off the tip with just his finger. And he continues to shed off pieces of the sword, the mythical sword, one of holy descent, one unbreakable by any mortal hands. Oh, I'm not mortal. As he continues to contain current eye contact with him, until his sword is nothing but a shiv, breaking the hilt. It makes a nice handle, doesn't it? hero. With just a command of Naofumi's sky shield, basically pushing away Ren, just making him fly off in the direction back to his team, who were standing nearby in case if Ren was going to be in mortal danger. But all they got was the view of the torturing of mine. He turns back around. I think I've got an idea for your punishment. And she's just like, she's barely able to even talk. I'll heal you. Question marks rise up in her head. As he opens up his fist. Healing hands. As, his hat, he says, see that mountain over there? He bulks up to full form, sort of using all of his power and sort of this, as he starts to consume ash inside of his body. In a very quick and very sudden sort of show of power, he cores his fist into the earth and splits it open while flicking his wrist as he splits open the earth, crumpling the mountain, sort of splitting it in half in the distance. He releases his energy. Now, I'm going to be doing that much damage to you. And I'm going to be healing it at the same time. Because, this power, it's made for mages. Now, can you count out for me how many days you watched me be tortured? And, please, for me. As she says, what? And then he just punches her straight in the chest, crumpling her whole entire body as it basically crumples like a tin can being hit by the side of a hammer. She lets out massive amounts of blood, barely missing Naofumi as he dodges it, saying, "Oh, when one be spoiled. Come on, 2," as she says. And he repeats this over and over and over again. As his punches echo throughout the valley, everybody is in absolute shock. She continues to heal all of it back. Come on, 21. Can't you say 21? She's fearful to call it 21. Keeping her mind present, keeping her mind, there. This is a horrible torturing tactic that people use when breaking people's bones. But he can do much, much more than that. He's breaking all of her bones in one hit. But healing it all back. As he pulls back his arm, she heals it all back. It kept her feeling every single part of the torture. And I think that'll do it for today.
Genie grind, I wish I'm getting rich, huh? Remember when I said I hit a lick, huh? I don't really wanna fuck the bitch, what? Willie went and made another hit, okay, like Prada on my motherfucking kid, huh? Louis on my motherfucking hip, huh? Curry how I dunk, no switch, hey, fuck you gonna fuck that bitch, hey, if you ain't gon' fuck with me, you a dumb fuck, put up and hit him up for that one punch, look at my bank and I'm getting dumb rich, and I'm gonna count it up till 100.